Hello, my name is Dr. Burhanuddin Hamza. Today I'll be actually speaking about the thyroid gland and its functions and the pathologies that are associated with it. So first of all, for us to understand what the thyroid gland is and what it poses, the potential risks that it poses, we need to understand the anatomy and the physiology of it, which basically means where exactly it is located and what it can do, right? So I'm sure everyone knows the thyroid gland is located in the anterior part of the neck, which is basically the neck, right below the Adam's apple, right? And it poses a lot of physiological functions, because if you look at every part of what you do on a day-to-day level, the thyroid gland has a role to play. For example, your heart contracting, the thyroid hormone plays a role. Your skin maintenance, your hair follicles, to actually, even for females, menstrual cycles, your activity, metabolic rate, basal metabolic rate, thermoregulation, that is the heat, everything is regulated by the thyroid gland, which is why it is such an important endocrine gland. And therefore the risks that are associated with it, most commonly in Sri Lanka we have hypothyroidism, which is low levels of the thyroid hormones, and what it can actually cause, which we will get to in the next segment of my particular topic. So let's discuss what causes hypothyroidism. In the late 1900s, the common cause was iodine deficiency, because those days people were just people were not consuming enough foods with high iodine content, which caused their thyroid not to function. Now the importance of iodine is iodine makes the thyroid hormones. It helps in synthesizing the thyroid hormones. So if you do not have enough iodine in your body, automatically you will have low levels of thyroid hormones, and therefore you will have symptoms of hypothyroidism. But what changed? We realized the importance of it, and the world as a global strategy made an initiative to mix salt with iodine, which is why now we get iodized salt. Therefore the cause of hypothyroidism because of iodine deficiency has drastically reduced. But now if you look at the Sri Lankan statistics, it is most commonly because of autoimmune conditions. You get Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which I won't go into detail, but it's an autoimmune condition that suppresses the thyroid gland, which causes the thyroid hormones to not function, or which suppresses the level of thyroid hormones that are produced by the thyroid gland. So these autoimmune conditions are very common in females, more than 40 years old, and therefore these are patients who can get hypothyroidism. Then you look at another segment of people who are very, very prone in getting symptoms of hypothyroidism. That is when the body is demanding more thyroid hormones. So for example, when females are pregnant, when females are feeding their children, that is during lactation, at that point the amount of thyroid hormones that are needed by the body so that they can do their normal day-to-day activities will definitely increase. And when that demand is not supplied, automatically the state of the normal organ will be to reduce its function, and that is why it causes something called a hypothyroidism state. What are the effects of the thyroid hormones? So again, effects of thyroid hormones will be based on whether the thyroid is producing less or the thyroid is producing more thyroid hormones, that is T3 and T4. So if you take a person who is producing less, so therefore let's just say that person's basal metabolic activity will be low. Therefore the patient will not be feeling fit, will be feeling fatigue, when that person does a small sort of a chew, the person will get tired. If you look at someone who is actually having high amount of thyroid hormones, they'll be more active, in another way hyperactive. If you look at a person who is hypothyroid, that person will actually say that they are feeling cold all the time. A person who is hyperthyroid will be saying that I'm feeling very, very warm. You take other things. A person who is a hypothyroid will have a slow heart rate. A person with a hyperthyroid will actually have a high heart rate. So that is tachycardia. That is palpitations. Right? Same thing. If you look at a person who is actually having hypothyroidism, he will have poor memory, poor cognitive functions. Whereas if you look at someone who is having hyperthyroidism, will be very, very active, will be concentrating a lot, but that is not too good because it can impair the brain on a long term aspect. You look at weight loss, weight gain. Weight loss is more associated with hyperthyroid because again the basal metabolic rate is more. For hypothyroid it will be weight gain. Also symptoms like if you even there are patients who come who especially females, they say that I cannot get pregnant. Sometimes when you look at it, it is because of hypothyroidism. Sometimes patients who come with heavy menstrual bleeding, what is the cause? Hypothyroidism. So you have a variety of symptoms. It is a buffet of symptoms that can be associated with states of hypo and hyperthyroidism. What factors increase the risk of thyroid disorder? For us to understand the factors that are associated with thyroid disorder, let's look at hypothyroidism. And as I've discussed, let's just say iodine deficiency. So the risk factor would be someone not consuming enough iodine in their day-to-day eating habits. But we've actually tackled that issue with iodized salt. But there are countries that still have that issue. And because of those endemic regions that have low levels of iodine in their normal diets, that causes hypothyroidism, right? Generally, in Sri Lanka, the problem that we have is autoimmune disorders that cause hypothyroidism, and that we cannot control. That is not controlled because it is all with regard to genetics that causes autoimmune disorders. Now, if you look at an array of other pathologies that are associated with the thyroid gland, let's just say for example thyroid cancer and other sorts of nodules that can develop, that can be because of radiation, that can be because of cigarette smoking, that can be because of goitrogens, something that is very commonly used. These are food substances or substances that can impair the function of the thyroid gland. Very common examples would be manioc, that is cassava, they have peanuts, all of those, even cauliflower, broccoli, which is not cooked, just when you have it raw, will increase the potential of increasing the size of your thyroid gland and impairing its function. So there are lots of foods that I will talk about in my next segment which are referred as goitrogens that will impair the function of the thyroid gland and therefore cause either hypothyroid or hyperthyroid states. So the next question is, what are the foods that are good for you, for your thyroid gland? So basically whatever food that is rich in iodine, that is rich in selenium, and that is rich in zinc are going to be very good for your thyroid gland. Basically selenium and zinc will help to activate your thyroid hormones. Iodine, as I've already discussed, they are very essential in making the thyroid hormones. So there are a group of food items that are actually good. So let's take eggs. Eggs are very good because they have high levels of selenium in them. If you take meaty products such as lamb, chicken, beef, all of them are also really good because they have high amounts of iodine as well as zinc and selenium. You look at dairy products, cheese, milk, very, very good. Vegetables are really good, but you need to cook cook all of them. Also fruits are also really good, especially if you look at berries, you see oranges, they are also very, very good in the properties of iodine, selenium and zinc, and that helps to regulate your thyroid gland. So let's discuss about the foods that can actually cause problems with regard to the thyroid gland, which I refer to as goitrogens. Right? So there are lots and lots of foods that are there, medicines that are there that impair the thyroid functions. So let's just talk about the common ones, right? So if you look at soy foods such as soya, tofu, edamame, those can actually impair the thyroid function. If you look at some vegetables such as cabbage, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, spinach, and even more, they also impair the thyroid in such a way that can cause a sort of a goiter, an enlargement of the thyroid gland. Even some fruits and starchy plants such as sweet potato, cassava, peaches, all of them also have an effect with regard to impairment of the thyroid gland. And lastly, the nuts and seeds, where you have these millet seeds, the peanuts, they also have an effect that can actually affect the thyroid metabolic, the thyroid levels that are there in your body. In saying all of these things, I hope that everyone doesn't stop eating peanuts, doesn't stop eating cassava chips. The reason I say all of this is because there are countries that depend on cassava as their main form of carbohydrates, which is why these endemic areas that depend on cassava as their main form of carbohydrate develop these symptoms, right? So my end statement would be, consume them in moderate amounts, not in excessive amounts. Now let's look at the vegetables. Just because I said cabbage and broccoli and kale and spinach causes messes up with your thyroid gland, that doesn't mean you stop eating it, because these vegetables have a lot of other micronutrients that are very, very useful in a lot of other things, like for example antioxidant properties. So the main importance is not having it raw. It has to be cooked. When you cook it, you destroy the goitogens that are there within those particular products. So I hope that that particular statement of what are the foods that can damage your thyroid gland, damage the impairment of your thyroid function, I hope it is not misunderstood in such an aspect that you completely stop eating it. How prevalent are the thyroid disorders? Now, generally speaking, statistically, around 12 to 14% of individuals do have thyroid problems. So from that 12 to 14, I would say 7 to 8% will be having issues with regard to hypothyroidism. The rest will be, solitary nodules, that is just nodules that need to be investigated, and patients who actually have hyperthyroid state. So most commonly it is hypothyroidism that is associated with thyroid problems. And also people who are more than 40 years old are having a higher potential in developing thyroid problems. And if you look at the ratio between male to female, it is 1:6. So 6 females can have thyroid problems as compared to 1 male. So how do you see if a person is having a problem with a thyroid gland? How do you know? I think which is one of the most important questions of the day. How do I, as a doctor, feel that this person needs to be investigated for thyroid levels? So remember, whenever you're having vague symptoms, any symptoms that are suggestive of hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, you definitely need to be investigated. Let's just say you do not have any of those symptoms, but you see a swelling in your neck, right, and which is unexplainable. Definitely you need to be investigated. Let's just say that you're finding this sudden onset voice change, sudden onset difficulty in breathing, sudden onset when you can't swallow things, you feel a discomfort when you're swallowing, sudden onset cough that you develop on and off. You definitely need to be evaluated by a doctor, and you need to be seen if there is any enlargements of your thyroid gland, whether you have an impairment with regard to whether your thyroid levels are low or high. These are people who definitely need to be evaluated for any thyroid problems. On an end note, any female more than 40 years old needs to do a thyroid stimulating hormone test. And TSH is very, very easy. It can be done. You do not have to be fasting. It's just a simple blood test that needs to be taken, and then the levels that are there will help us to actually decide if you are in a hypothyroid or hyperthyroid state. So let's discuss what are the symptoms that are seen in a person who is hypothyroid, and what causes those symptoms. right? So classically, these patients will come with fatigue. They'll say, as I said earlier, they'll be feeling cold most of the time. Even in an environment where someone else will feel it's a normal temperature, that patient will feel cold. Sometimes patients will come and say that I can't concentrate a lot. I actually feel very tired after reading something. Because, and another thing is, they'll say that they have very poor memory. One thing that was said earlier, now I've forgotten, right? Some patients come with constipation that is not settling, right? Some people come with gastritis symptoms. Some people say that how they've tried their level best in controlling their weight, controlling their weight by eating healthy, doing exercises, but still they gain weight, right? Some people will come with shortness of breath. Some females, especially in their mid 20s, mid 30s, will come with heavy menstrual bleeding. And all of these things that I'm telling you right now are all associated with the thyroid gland. And sometimes they'll say that my skin is too brittle, the hair that I have is very thin, it just falls off. My pulse is very low. I've noticed that both my limbs are becoming edematous, that is swelling of the lower limb. All of these are associated with the thyroid gland, and it is therefore very difficult to actually pin it down to the thyroid gland, whether it is something to do with the thyroid gland. Which is why it is very important that we have to actively search if a person is having a thyroid issue or not. And that is why I think the Interact Club of Burhani Serendeep School has recognized its importance and has wanted to actually discuss about this matter.